pressed his four hands against the viewing window of the transport ship. Below him, Station Osiris-7 glowed like a small star against the darkness of space. The Galactic Combat Academy. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a youngling on. The station was massive, larger than any city on his. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Could see beings from dozens of species walking through the transparent corridors. His heart's beat faster with excitement and nervousness. "First time at the academy?" asked a voice beside him. Turned to see a tall, crystalline being. Light refracted through its body, creating small rainbows on the walls. "Yes," replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm from Collective," the crystalline being hummed softly. "Your people are ranked 4th in combat effectiveness. Impressive." Felt pride swell in his chest. They were warriors, famous across the galaxy for their strength and skill. With 4 arms, they could wield multiple weapons simultaneously. Their reflexes were 3 times faster than most species. They had conquered 15 star systems through pure military might. "What rank are the?" asked politely. "7th," said without shame. "We excel in different areas: hive coordination, information processing, not individual combat." The transport docked with a soft thud, grabbed his belongings and followed the crowd into the station. The academy's main hall was breathtaking. The ceiling rose hundreds of feet above them, showing a projection of the galaxy. Thousands of stars twinkled overhead. "New cadets, form lines by species," shouted an instructor near the entrance. Found the line. There were 30 others from his, all looking as nervous and excited as he felt. The processing took hours. They received uniforms, room assignments, and identification chips implanted in their wrists. Finally found his assigned quarters. The door slid open to reveal a large room with 4 sleeping pods, a common area, and a study terminal. 3 beings were already inside. Was there, along with a floating jellyfish-like creature, and a massive reptilian warrior covered in scales. Roommates chimed, "This is a Skarn warrior." Rumbled his voice deep as thunder. "4th ranked, we are 9th, perhaps I will learn from you." Liked them immediately. They spent the evening talking about their hopes and their fears about academy training. Could read surface thoughts, which was unnerving until got used to it. Told stories of hunting massive beasts in Skarn swamps. Explained the beauty of the hive mind. The next morning, orientation began. Commander, their primary instructor, stood at the front of the assembly hall. She was an ancient species known for wisdom and tactical genius. Scars covered her gray skin, evidence of countless battles. "You are the best of your species," Commander began. "You were chosen because you showed promise, skill, and dedication. But here you are nothing. Here you will learn what true combat means." She activated a massive holographic display behind her. "The galaxy is dangerous. We have documented 847 major conflicts in recorded history. Species rise and fall. Empires burn. Only the strong survive." The display showed a ranking system. Leaned forward, eager to see where stood. "The elite species combat rankings," Commander continued. "Compiled over 10,000 years. Measuring survival rate, adaptability, tactical innovation, and combat effectiveness. This data is absolute. This data is truth." The list appeared, quickly scanned for his people. Number 4. Warrior species, multi-armed combat specialists, conquest rate 89%. He felt proud, 4th in the entire galaxy. Number 3. Empire ancient tacticians, advanced technology, strategic superiority. Number 2. Dominion apex predators, brutal efficiency, never defeated in direct combat. Frowned, who could be ranked above there were nightmares made flesh. They had conquered 200 worlds. Their soldiers were said to be unstoppable, their ships unbreakable. What species could possibly be more dangerous? He scrolled to number 1. The text appeared, and 4 hands froze on the controls. Number 1. Human Class 7 Prohibited Contact Zone Threat Level Existential. Stared at the words. Human, he had never heard of them. Class 7 meant their planet was extremely dangerous, but threat level existential, that was a classification reserved for galaxy-ending dangers, supernovas, black holes, plague ships. Not species. There must be an error, whispered beside him. Humans are primitives. They haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel. They're from a single planet. Around the hall, other students were muttering similar confusion. Some laughed. Others looked concerned. Raised one hand. Commander, is this data correct? Humans at rank 1. The hall went quiet. Every student turned to look at the commander. Commander's expression changed. The professional mask slipped for just a moment, and saw something in her eyes he had never expected to see from a warrior. Fear. Class dismissed, she said abruptly. Return to your quarters. But Commander, another student began. Now. The word cracked like thunder. Students scrambled for the exits. Commander walked quickly to the holographic terminal and locked it, her movements sharp and urgent. Back in their quarters, his roommates were buzzing with speculation. Database corruption, suggested, his telepathic voice echoing in their minds. A single entry error, perhaps swapped with another species. Or a test, rumbled, to see if we question our instructors. It has to be a mistake, agreed. Humans are nothing, barely space-capable. No empire, no fleet, no military presence in galactic affairs. But couldn't forget Commander's face. That wasn't the look of someone who found a database error. That was the look of someone who had seen something terrible and wanted to forget. That night lay in his sleeping pod, unable to rest. His personal terminal was still connected to the Academy's basic database. He pulled up the entry for humans. The file was thin, very thin. Species human. Earth Sol system. Biology, bipedal carbon-based mammalian. Average 80 standard cycles. Population, approximately 8 billion single planet. Technology level, pre-FTL nuclear A. Galactic presence, none. Contact status, prohibited. That was it, nothing impressive. Nothing that explained a rank 1 combat rating. Nothing that justified the word existential. Closed the file and stared at the ceiling of his pod. Tomorrow, he decided, he would find out the truth. The Academy had the most comprehensive database in the galaxy. Somewhere in those files, there had to be an explanation. He didn't know it yet, but what he would discover would change everything he thought he knew about danger, survival, and what it truly meant to be the apex species. Outside his window, the stars shone peacefully, unaware that somewhere among them, on a small blue world, the most dangerous species in the galaxy was waking up to another ordinary day. Spent the next 3 days trying to focus on his classes, but his mind kept wandering back to that single word. Human, number 1, existential threat. His combat training suffered. During a sparring session, knocked him down with embarrassing ease. Your mind is elsewhere, friend, the Skarn warrior said, offering a clawed hand to help him up. What troubles you? The ranking, admitted. I can't stop thinking about it. Snorted still. It was an error, forget it. But couldn't forget. Every night he accessed the Academy database, searching for more information about humans. The public files told him almost nothing. Average height, 1.7 meters. Average mass, 70 kilograms. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. Weak bite force. No natural armor. No claws or venom. They sounded fragile, harmless. On the 4th night, decided to dig deeper. The Academy's database had restricted sections, files that required higher security clearance. His cadet credentials shouldn't allow access, but had grown up with technology. He knew how systems worked. He found a gap in the security protocol, a mistake where 2 clearance levels overlapped. It wasn't hacking, not really, just clever navigation. He slipped through. The restricted files opened before him. His 4 hands trembled as he read. File, First Contact Report Incident 447 Omega. Date, 398 cycles ago. Location, Frontier Space Sector 19. Read the report 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. A scouting fleet had encountered a primitive human vessel far from Earth. The ship was crude, powered by chemical rockets and nuclear fusion. It carried 6 humans on an exploratory mission to their outer planets. The saw easy prey. They attempted to board the vessel to capture the humans for study or slave labor. All 47 soldiers died. The report was clinical, written by military investigators. It detailed how the humans had primitive projectile weapons, simple firearms that shouldn't have penetrated armor. But the humans didn't aim for armor. They aimed for joints, weak points, the gaps between plates. They aimed for eyes. With terrifying precision. The 6 humans killed 47 warriors in close-quarters combat, then destroyed their own ship to prevent capture. A rescue team found only bodies. The humans had left no survivors, no witnesses who could report their tactics. Impossible, whispered. There were apex predators, 3 meters tall, with natural weapons and centuries of combat experience. 6 primitive humans shouldn't have stood a chance. He opened another file. Observation Log 73 Gamma. Subject Human Warfare Patterns. Duration 400 cycles of passive monitoring. Galactic Council observers had been watching Earth for centuries, careful never to make contact. What they documented makes blood run cold. Humans fought constantly, not just against other species but against themselves. Their entire history was war. Thousands of conflicts, millions of deaths, weapons that evolved from sharpened stones to nuclear bombs in just 10,000 years. But it wasn't the violence that disturbed the observers. It was the innovation. Other species fought for territory, resources, or survival. Their tactics remained mostly unchanged for honor-bound combat, straightforward strategy, predictable patterns. Humans had abandoned honor thousands of years ago. They invented deception warfare, guerrilla tactics, psychological operations. They created weapons designed not just to kill, but to terrorize. They developed doctrines of mutually assured destruction, willing to destroy themselves rather than surrender. They treated war like science, constantly testing, adapting, improving. One passage made stop breathing. Human conflicts show no signs of seeking combat efficiency. Rather, they seek combat victory through any means necessary. They will sacrifice honor, morality, and even their own lives to achieve tactical advantage. They view warfare as a puzzle to be solved, not a trial to be endured. This mindset is unprecedented in galactic records. Opened a third file. Combat Simulation Database. Project, Species Effectiveness Analysis. Subject, all known spacefaring species. The Academy ran simulations constantly, testing how different species would perform against each other in various combat scenarios. It was how the rankings were created. Access the human simulation results. 10,000 battles, different scenarios, urban combat, space warfare, guerrilla operations, direct assault, defense, siege. Humans won 9,470 times. Even when outnumbered 5 to 1. Even when fighting species with superior technology. Even when given outdated weapons against advanced armor. The simulation notes were disturbing. Human tactics defy conventional combat logic. They retreat when victory is possible to lure enemies into traps. They sacrifice positions to gain intelligence. They weaponize their own weaknesses, using their fragile biology to create false confidence in opponents. They show remarkable ability to operate in independent small units while maintaining coordinated strategy. Most concerning, they improve rapidly. Each loss teaches them. Each victory is analyzed for efficiency. They do not repeat mistakes. Sat back in his chair, feeling sick. This couldn't be real. A species of fragile bipeds trapped on a single world being ranked above the Dominion. But the data didn't lie. The simulations didn't have opinions or biases. They just calculated probabilities. And the probability was clear. In a straight fight, humans won, almost always. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. Someone was at his door. Quickly closed the classified files and opened the door. A small figure stood in the hallway, barely reaching the middle of his chest. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, pale skin, dark hair pulled back in a simple tie. Human. Hi, the human said brightly. I just transferred to this section. The housing administrator said you're my neighbor. Tried to speak. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. He was staring at a member of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. She was tiny. She looked like a strong wind could knock her over. She was smiling. You okay? Asked, tilting her head. You look like you've seen a ghost. Oh wait, do have ghost stories. I'm still learning about different cultures. Yes, he finally managed. Nice to meet you. She extended a hand, some kind of greeting gesture, carefully touched it with one of his hands. Her grip was surprisingly firm. I'm one of the exchange students. There's only 3 of us humans here. Pretty exciting, right? First time off Earth for all of us. You're from Earth? Asked stupidly. Yep, born and raised in Seoul. You ever heard of Earth? Yes, a little. Cool. Hey, I have a question. The Academy has these combat classes, right? I'm top ranked in my section, but I want to make sure I'm not missing any required courses. Do you know who I should talk to? Top ranked. This small, smiling, fragile-looking being was top ranked in combat class. Commander said weakly. She handles advanced combat placement. Perfect, thanks so much. Oh, and if you ever want to grab food or something, let me know. I'm curious about culture. We're going to be out here among the stars together, might as well be friends, right? She waved and walked down the corridor, humming some melody didn't recognize. He stood in his doorway for a long time after she left, trying to process what just happened. That was humanity's apex warrior, that small, cheerful person. That night he accessed one more file, a cultural database entry about human social customs. One passage stood out. Humans engage in a behavior called smiling as a gesture of friendliness and non-aggression. However, historical records show that humans also bare their teeth before attacking. The distinction between a friendly smile and a threat display is contextual and extremely difficult for other species to identify. Approach human facial expressions with caution. Closed the terminal and lay in his sleeping pod, staring at the ceiling. Had smiled at him. Was it friendship, or was it the smile of a predator sizing up prey? For the first time in his life, understood what it meant to be truly afraid of another being, not because they looked dangerous, but because they didn't. And somewhere in the classified files, marked with the highest security clearance, was a warning he hadn't been able to access, but he had seen the title. Emergency Protocol. What to do if humanity unifies and turns outward. He didn't sleep well that night. The announcement came 3 weeks into the semester. The Academy's annual war games would begin in 5 days. Every student in the assembly hall buzzed with excitement. The war games were legendary, a month-long simulation where students formed species-based teams and competed in strategic combat scenarios. Performance in the games determined future military placement, advancement opportunities, and academy honors. Commander stood before them, her face serious. You will be tested on everything you have learned: strategy, tactics, endurance, adaptability. Your team will face scenarios based on real galactic conflicts. Many of you will fail. Some of you will discover you are not meant for military service. This is not a game despite the name. This is war. was chosen as captain of the team. 8 warriors, including himself, all trained since childhood in combat arts. He felt confident. His people were ranked 4th in the galaxy for good reason. He studied the other teams carefully. The team was terrifying as expected. 12 massive warriors, each over 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor. They moved like predators, efficient and deadly. They were captained by a veteran student who had won the games twice before. The team had superior numbers and technology. 20 students, equipped with advanced sensors and tactical computers. Their captain, Elder, was Commander's own nephew. The team operated as a perfect hive mind. Their 15 members moved as one, sharing thoughts instantly. No communication lag, no misunderstandings. Then there was the human team. 3 of them, just 3, was there, still smiling. Beside her stood Minu, a quiet young man who never seemed to stop watching everything around him, and who always looked exhausted but whose eyes were sharp and calculating. 3 humans against 12, laughed during the team briefing. This will be a short competition for them. Wasn't so sure. He had spent weeks reading classified files, watching simulation data, but simulations weren't reality. Maybe the files were wrong. Maybe humans weren't actually that dangerous. He wanted to believe that. The first scenario began at dawn. An open battlefield, 10 kilometers square. Each team started at a different corner. Victory conditions: eliminate all other teams or capture the central objective point. The horn sounded. The charged immediately, using their natural aggression and armor to push toward the center. The established fortified positions on high ground, using their technology advantage. Led his team in a flanking maneuver, using speed and agility to stay mobile. The humans disappeared. Within the first hour, every team had visual contact with each other except the humans. Sensors couldn't find them. Scouts came back confused. They had simply vanished into the terrain. "Forget them," his voice crackled over the open channel. The captain sounded amused. 3 primitives with basic weapons. They probably ran and hid. Focus on real threats. The teams began engaging each other. Warriors clashed with their 4 arms against the hive mind's coordination. The push through the defenses with brute force. The scenario became a brutal 3-way battle. 6 hours passed. Then appeared. He walked out of a forest area with his hands raised, holding no weapons. He approached the position, broadcasting surrender. "I give up," he said calmly. "My team abandoned me. I don't want to fail the course. I surrender to the..." Laughed a deep, rumbling sound. Smart for a human. Bring him to the holding area. Was escorted to the command center, placed in a containment field, and ignored. They turned their attention back to the battle. 30 minutes later, their command center exploded. Not with fire or plasma, with sound. A deafening blast that shattered the sensitive hearing organs. Their communications went dead. Their sensors overloaded. 12 of the galaxy's most fearsome warriors stumbled around, disoriented and deaf. Had been carrying improvised sonic grenades disguised as medical devices. He had also planted intelligence-gathering bugs throughout the command center while pretending to be a frightened prisoner. The team was eliminated. Their systems tagged them as combat ineffective. Watched the replay in shock. Had sacrificed himself, used himself as a weapon, and destroyed the second-rank species in a single move. Suicide tactics, observed, their crystalline bodies shimmering with unease. He knew he would be eliminated too. The explosion caught him as well. He traded 1 soldier for 12, added telepathically. Mathematically efficient but strategically insane. Who does that? Humans, apparently. The next day, the team began reporting communication problems. Their tactical network kept giving contradictory orders. Teams were sent to wrong positions. Supply lines got confused. Elder grew furious, suspecting sabotage. He was right. Minyu had infiltrated their position disguised as a maintenance drone. Didn't understand how a human had built a convincing disguise or learned to mimic drone movement patterns, but the replay footage showed it clearly. Minyu spent 18 hours inside the perimeter, not fighting, not destroying anything important, just changing data. He altered their tactical computer's algorithms by tiny amounts. He introduced small delays in their communication systems. He modified their map coordinates by less than 1%. Individually, these changes were meaningless. Together, they were devastating. The teams started firing on each other, thinking they were engaging enemies. They sent supplies to empty locations. They fortified positions that didn't matter and abandoned positions that did. Elder finally discovered the sabotage, but by then, 15 of his 20 students were eliminated through friendly fire and strategic errors. The team surrendered. His hands shook as he studied the recordings. Minyu had never fired a shot. He had defeated the third-ranked species through pure psychological warfare. Only 3 teams remained, the and the humans. Called a team meeting. We can't underestimate them anymore. The humans are dangerous. We need to work together with the to eliminate them first. But before they could coordinate with the team, found them. Was leading his squad through a canyon when she appeared on a ridge above them. Alone, armed with only a combat knife, 1 small human against 8 warriors. She didn't attack. She talked. Hello, her voice was friendly, almost cheerful. Nice day for war games, isn't it? Raised 4 hands, signaling his team to ready weapons. Surrender, you can't win this fight. Fight? I don't want to fight. She sat down on the ridge, legs dangling over the edge. I want to chat. You have 3 minutes before your team needs to move to avoid this next tactical push. I know because Minyu has been monitoring their communications. We will not negotiate with. I'm not negotiating, interrupted gently. I'm explaining your situation. They are gone. They are gone. It's down to 3 teams. They have superior coordination and numbers. You have superior individual strength and my people's adaptability. If we fight each other, the win. What are you suggesting? Nothing, just making observations, she smiled. Did you know that every major team has been crippled except yours? That's not an accident. We chose our targets carefully. They were too aggressive. The too reliant on technology. But you're balanced, smart. You could actually win this. One of his warriors growled, This is a trick. Probably, agreed. Or maybe I'm just pointing out that your species' pride won't let you surrender, but cooperation could win you 2nd place. That's still an excellent showing. She stood up, stretched, and smiled again. Anyway, I've said my piece. Good luck out there, may the best species win. She walked away, disappearing into the terrain. Stood frozen, his mind raced. What was her game? Why talk instead of fight? Why give them strategic information? Then he understood. Check your equipment, he ordered, now. His team found 3 surveillance devices. Small, almost invisible. They had been planted during speech, probably by micro-drones, while she kept them distracted with conversation. She hadn't been negotiating. She hadn't been making friendly conversation. She had been stalling and gathering intelligence. The war games continued for another week. They fought hard, using every tactic they knew. But somehow, the humans always knew where they would be, always anticipated their strategies, always stayed 1 step ahead. The final battle took place in an urban environment. His team held a fortified building. They surrounded them. The humans were somewhere in the city, unseen. Then this hive-mind connection severed. Something was jamming their neural link. Without their coordination, they became confused, vulnerable. Saw his chance. He ordered his team to attack while they were disorganized. They won, they actually won. For approximately 30 seconds. Then the simulation declared the human team victorious. Check the battle logs in confusion. The humans had never engaged in the final battle. They hadn't fired a single shot. But they had done something more devastating. They had hacked the objective system. While everyone fought over tactical positions, Minu had infiltrated the simulation's control network and simply changed the victory conditions. The humans won by rewriting the rules of engagement. The war games ended. Final rankings. First place, human team. Second place, team. Third place, collective. The assembly hall was silent as Commander announced the results. Students from a dozen species stared at the three humans in shock. Minu and stood together, looking tired but satisfied. Understood now. The ranking wasn't a mistake, it wasn't a database error. Humans were ranked number 1 because they didn't fight like warriors. They fought like survivors who had spent their entire evolution learning that the universe didn't care about honor, fairness, or rules. They fought to win. And that, realized with growing dread, made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 3 days after the war games ended, Commander called an emergency assembly. Every student was required to attend. No exceptions. The assembly hall filled quickly. Sat with his teammates, watching as representatives from the Galactic Council filed onto the stage. This was unprecedented. Council members never visited the Academy during normal operations. Something important was about to happen. Students of the Galactic Combat Academy, Commander began, her voice echoing through the massive chamber. What you are about to learn is classified information. It has been hidden from public knowledge for 400 years, but after the recent war games, the Council has decided you deserve to know the truth. She paused, her face grim. The truth about humanity. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Leaned forward, his 4 hands gripping the armrests of his seat. A holographic display activated behind Commander. It showed a star map, focusing on a small yellow star in an unremarkable sector of space. 400 years ago, humanity was unranked, continued. They were primitives, barely noticed by the galactic community. They had nuclear weapons, crude spacecraft, and constant tribal conflicts. They seemed unremarkable in every way. The star map zoomed in, showing a blue and green planet. Then the Dominion made a mistake. The hall went completely silent. They observed Earth's conflicts and saw opportunity. A violent species, already skilled in warfare, divided against itself. They believed humans would make excellent slave soldiers. They sent a military expedition to Earth with orders to conscript 10,000 humans by force. The hologram changed, showing warships descending on Earth. Watched cities burning, humans being loaded into transport ships, families torn apart. The operation was successful, said quietly. 10,000 humans were taken from there. They were transported to military facilities for training and conditioning. Elder stepped forward, an ancient being from a species didn't recognize. His voice was old and tired. We expected the humans to break, said. Every other species we studied would have broken, torn from their home, facing superior technology and overwhelming force, separated from everything they knew. We expected submission within months. The hologram changed again, his breath caught. Instead, they learned. The images showed humans in facilities, but they weren't broken. They were studying, watching, memorizing guard rotations, analyzing technology, teaching each other in whispered conversations. Within 1 year, the humans had learned basic language, continued. Within 2 years, they understood technology well enough to sabotage it. Within 3 years, they had established a resistance network across 17 military installations. Impossible, someone whispered behind. Within 5 years, his voice grew heavy, those 10,000 humans started a rebellion that destroyed 17 worlds. The hall erupted in shocked voices. The defeated by primitives, by slaves. Commander raised a hand for silence. Let me be clear. The humans didn't just escape. They didn't just rebel. They waged total war against the Dominion. They stole ships, reverse-engineered weapons, and fought with a ferocity that terrified the galaxy. The hologram showed battle after battle. Humans using captured vessels, turning the Dominion's own technology against them. Tactics that seemed impossible. Victories that logic. How did they do it? Elder called out from the student section. They had no training in space warfare, no experience with advanced technology. They adapted, answered simply. Every battle taught them something new. Every defeat made them stronger. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like survivors who had spent their entire evolution learning to overcome impossible odds. Another council member stepped forward. This was Arch-Tactician, a military legend. I was there, said, and the hall went silent. I commanded one of the fleets sent to observe the conflict. I watched humans fight. What I saw changed everything I understood about warfare. He activated tactical displays showing specific battles. Humans are persistence hunters. On there, their ancestors would chase prey for days, sometimes weeks, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. This trait translated to warfare. They never stopped, never gave up. If an attack failed, they tried again, and again, and again, each time learning, adapting, improving. The displays showed human tactics evolving in real time across the 5-year conflict. They are pack-bonding social creatures, continued. Most species can coordinate in groups of hundreds, maybe thousands. Humans can cooperate in groups of millions while maintaining individual initiative. They created command structures that allowed independent action while serving unified strategy. But they're so weak, someone protested. Physically inferior to most spacefaring species. Physically weak, yes, agreed. But that's exactly what makes them dangerous. They evolved on a Class 7. Do you understand what that means? Class 7 meant a planet so hostile that most species couldn't survive there even with technology. Earth has apex predators that hunt humans, explained. It has diseases that kill in days. It has weather systems that can destroy cities. It has tectonic activity that reshapes continents. And it has humans competing against humans for resources. The hologram showed Earth's ecosystem. Massive carnivores, venomous creatures, natural disasters. Felt sick watching it. To humans, said softly, the galaxy isn't dangerous. It's easier than home. They look at our worlds and see safe havens. They look at our conflicts and see simple problems. They've spent 200,000 years learning to survive the unsurvivable. Commander stepped forward again. The human war lasted 5 years. The lost 17 worlds, suffered 3 million casualties, and spent resources that nearly bankrupted their empire. Then they did something unprecedented in 3,000 years of history. She paused for effect. They surrendered. Gasps echoed through the hall. The Dominion sued for peace. The humans demanded the return of all their people, a formal apology, and a 100-light-year exclusion zone around Earth. They agreed to everything. Elder spoke again. The Galactic Council created the elite species combat rankings shortly after analyzing the conflict. We studied every engagement, every tactic, every outcome. The conclusion was unanimous. The hologram showed the ranking system, with humans at number 1. Humanity is not ranked first because they are the strongest, or the fastest, they are ranked first because they are the most dangerous. They are generalists in a galaxy of specialists. They are adaptable in a universe that favors specialization. They are pack hunters who never stop learning. His voice grew heavy with something like fear. Most terrifying of all, they are currently divided against themselves. 8 billion humans on one world, split into hundreds of nations, constantly competing and fighting among themselves. All of this data, All of these terrifying capabilities come from a species that has never unified. He let that sink in. The Council's strategic assessment is clear. If humanity ever stopped fighting themselves and turned their attention outward as a unified species, no force in the known galaxy could stop them. The assembly hall was silent, looked around and saw fear on faces from a dozen species. Students who had trained for years to be warriors suddenly realizing they had been training to fight the wrong kind of enemy. His eyes found in the crowd. She sat quietly, listening to species after species describe her people as monsters. Her face was sad, not angry, just sad. The Council's recommendation, concluded, was and remains avoid contact, never provoke, maintain the exclusion zone. Humanity must be contained, not confronted. Then why are they here? Someone shouted. Why allow human exchange students? Because, Commander answered, containment through isolation only works if humanity remains ignorant of the larger galaxy. They already know we exist. They have seen our ships observing their world. If we continue hiding, they will eventually develop faster than light travel themselves. They will come looking for us. And when they do, added, we want them to find friends, not enemies. The exchange program is an experiment in controlled contact. 3 humans carefully monitored, learning our ways while we learn theirs. Understood now. The Academy wasn't studying humanity's combat effectiveness. They were trying to figure out how to survive humanity's awakening. The assembly ended in tense silence. Students filed out slowly, processing what they had learned. Stayed in his seat watching as stood alone, other students avoiding her. She looked small, fragile, harmless. He knew better now. She caught him looking and smiled. That same friendly smile that could mean anything, friendship or threat, welcome or warning. The smile of the apex predator, wearing the mask of prey. And somewhere beyond the Academy, on a small blue world in an unremarkable star system, 8 billion more humans just like her were waking up to another ordinary day, unaware that the galaxy feared their very existence. Left the assembly hall with a single thought echoing in his mind. What would happen when they found out? The Academy changed after the assembly. Students who had been friendly with the human exchange students now avoided them. Conversations stopped when Minyu or entered a room. Fear spread through the station like a disease. Watch it happen with growing discomfort. During combat training, nobody wanted to spar with the humans. In the cafeteria, empty spaces formed around them. Professors called on them less frequently in classes. The 3 humans noticed, of course. How could they not? Grew quieter, spending most of his time alone in his quarters. Minyu stopped trying to make conversation with other students, and smile became forced, brittle around the edges. A week after the assembly, found a message on his personal terminal. It was from the Academy's housing administrator. Had requested a transfer to isolated quarters, away from other students. Something about that bothered him. He remembered her voice during the war games. We're going to be out here among the stars together, might as well be friends, right? That night couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the assembly, about the fear in everyone's eyes, about the way they treated the humans like weapons instead of people. He got up and walked through the station's quiet corridors. His feet carried him to the observation deck without conscious thought. The observation deck was enormous, with transparent walls showing the stars in every direction. One small figure stood at the far end, silhouetted against the galaxy. Yep. Almost turned back, but something made him walk forward instead. Beautiful, isn't it? Said without turning around. I never imagined it would look like this in person. We have telescopes on Earth, pictures, simulations, but being here, actually seeing it with your own eyes. Stood beside her looking out at the infinite stars. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For how everyone is treating you, for the fear. Laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Don't be. They're right to be afraid. What do you mean? She finally turned to look at him. In the starlight, could see tears on her face. We're dangerous. Everything they said in that assembly was true. Humans are violent, adaptable, persistent. We spent our entire history fighting each other, building weapons, figuring out better ways to kill. We almost destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons. We poisoned our own planet. We've committed genocides against our own species. But, let me finish, she interrupted gently. The files they showed you, the rankings, the tactical assessments, they're all accurate, but they're also incomplete. She turned back to the stars. Do you know why we almost destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons? Not because we're violent, because we're terrified. Every tribe, every nation, every group of humans has spent thousands of years afraid of the other groups, afraid of being attacked, enslaved, destroyed. So we built weapons to protect ourselves, which made everyone else more afraid, so they built bigger weapons, and the cycle continued. Listen, his four hands clasped behind his back. We reach for the stars hopping to find friends, continued. That's what all our stories are about. All our science fiction, our dreams, our hopes. Meeting aliens who would show us we're not alone. That the universe is full of other beings trying to figure out how to survive just like us. She wiped her eyes. And instead we found out the galaxy has been watching us for centuries, studying us, ranking us, deciding we're too dangerous to contact, that we're monsters who need to be contained. You're not monsters, said. Aren't we? His voice was bitter. Think about what you learned. Humans took down the Dominion. We won 94% of combat simulations against species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years. We're called an existential threat. That's the same category as supernovas and black holes. Thought carefully before responding. The files didn't show everything. What do you mean? I've been doing more research since the assembly, not about human combat effectiveness, about human culture. He pulled up his, showing her images. Your art, your music, your philosophy, your attempts at peace. The images showed paintings from Earth, sculptures, symphonies represented as wave patterns, peace treaties, the founding of the United Nations, humans helping each other during natural disasters. For every war in your history, there are 100 acts of kindness, said. For every weapon you invented 10 tools to help people. You're dangerous because you understand danger better than any species in the galaxy. You've faced it in yourselves. Stared at the images, tears flowing freely now. Your people spent thousands of years fighting themselves, continued. But you also spent thousands of years trying to stop fighting, building peace, creating art, asking philosophical questions about right and wrong. You're the only species I know that actively debates whether you deserve to exist. That doesn't make us safe. No, agreed, but it makes you aware. The never questioned their right to conquer. The never doubted their superiority. My own people never wondered if our military strength was moral. But humans, you spent your entire history asking, are we the monsters? That question, that self-awareness, that's what makes you different. They stood in silence for a long moment, watching the stars rotate slowly. There's something the council didn't mention in the assembly, said. Something I found in the deepest classified files. What? There are reports coming from dark space, beyond the mapped galaxy. Something is out there, something that doesn't communicate, doesn't negotiate, doesn't stop. The council has been tracking it for 50 years. It's getting closer. Turned to him, her expression serious. What kind of something? Nobody knows. It destroys everything it encounters. Ships, stations, entire colonies. It leaves no survivors, no messages, no clues, just nothing. And the council hasn't sent military forces. They have 3 expeditionary fleets. None returned. The council is terrified because everything they know about warfare, about tactics and honor and conventional combat doesn't work against this threat. Met her eyes. That's why I came to find you tonight. not to apologize for the fear, but to tell you that the galaxy doesn't just fear humanity, it needs you. Frowned needs us. You've spent preparing for threats, learning to survive the unsurvivable, fighting enemies that didn't care about honor or fairness. You understand warfare in a way no other species does because you've lived it, breathed it, suffered through it against yourselves. He activated his again, showing tactical reports about the unknown threat. The Council won't admit it publicly, but they're desperate. Every conventional approach has failed. They need someone who thinks differently, someone who doesn't follow the rules, someone who fights to win, not to achieve glory. You want to use us as weapons, said flatly. No, said firmly. I want to ask for your help, as partners, not tools. The Council's approach has been wrong from the beginning, containing humanity, fearing you, treating you like dangerous animals. But that's not what you are. What are we then? Survivors answered, like all of us, just better at it. Was quiet for a long time. Finally she asked, what are you proposing? I'm going to the Council tomorrow, said. I'm going to suggest a partnership, not containment, not observation, real cooperation. The galaxy shares what it knows about space travel, advanced technology, and galactic threats. Humanity shares what it knows about survival, adaptation, and unconventional warfare. They'll never agree. Maybe not, but after watching you in the war games, after learning about your history, I realize something. The ranking is both right and wrong. Yes, humans are the most dangerous species, but dangerous doesn't mean evil. Fire is dangerous. So is a surgeon's knife. It depends on how it's used. He looked out at the stars again. The galaxy has been trying to protect itself from humanity, but maybe it's time to stand with humanity instead. Smiled, and this time it was real, warm, hopeful. You really think they'll listen? I don't know, but I have to try, because I'm tired of being afraid, and because I think my people, all our people, could learn something from humans. What's that? That survival isn't about being the strongest it's about being willing to adapt, to learn, and to keep trying even when everything seems impossible. Over the next few weeks, presented his proposal to the Council. The debates were fierce. Some Council members argued for maintaining containment. Others demanded stronger restrictions on human activity. But slowly, minds began to change. Elder, who had helped create the exclusion zone, spoke in favor of partnership. We created these policies out of fear, he admitted. But fear is not wisdom. If the dark space threat is real, and all evidence suggests it is, then we need every advantage. And humanity is the greatest advantage we have. The vote was close, but it passed. The new policy was announced galaxy-wide: limited cultural exchange, shared technological development, and joint strategic planning. Humanity would remain in their exclusion zone for now, but the barriers would lower gradually. More exchange students would be accepted. Human observers would be allowed at council meetings. It wasn't perfect. Fear didn't disappear overnight. Many species remained suspicious of humanity. But it was a start. Stood within the observation deck one last time before the semester ended. Earth's star was visible in the distance, a tiny point of light among billions. Are you still afraid of us? Asked. Thought about the question honestly. Yes, he admitted. I probably always will be a little. Your capacity for violence and adaptation is genuinely terrifying. But I'm also grateful you're on our side, and I hope someday we can move past fear into something better. Understanding maybe, or at least respect. Nodded. We're afraid too, you know. Afraid of ourselves, of what we might become, of whether we deserve to be out here among the stars. That fear keeps us trying to be better, to be worthy of the universe we're stepping into. That's exactly what makes you dangerous, said with a slight smile. And exactly what makes you valuable. A species that constantly questions itself, constantly tries to improve, constantly fights its own nature to be better. That's not a weakness, that's strength. They stood together, two beings from different worlds, looking at the vast galaxy spread before them. Somewhere in the darkness, unknown threats waited, but humanity was waking up, stepping onto the galactic stage, and the galaxy, despite its fear, was learning to welcome them. Not as monsters to be contained, but as allies in the eternal struggle to survive among the stars. And maybe, just maybe, that partnership would be enough to face whatever came next. Together,